On the edge of Old Cairo, where a quiet lake mirrors the sky, a great low building of pale stone spreads along the water, calm and modern and immense. Behind it, the old city crowds the horizon, and somewhere beyond that the desert and the pyramids wait, yet here everything feels serene, gathered and still. Inside these walls rests the longest story any single land has ever told, 7,000 years of a civilization kept under one roof. It is a place built not to worship one age, but to honor them all. Welcome to the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization. We are in Old Cairo, in the ancient quarter of Fustat, the very ground where the first Islamic city of Egypt was founded, and where Cairo itself began to grow. The museum stands beside the lake of Ain al-Sira, one of the last natural lakes left within the sprawling capital. All around lies the layered old city, mosques and churches and markets stacked upon centuries of earlier streets. It is a fitting place for a museum of continuity, for here the past is not far away but directly underfoot. The museum itself is a work of quiet modern grandeur, long horizontal lines of pale stone and glass stretching low against the sky. Broad plazas and reflecting water lead the eye toward wide entrances, and the whole design feels open, luminous, and unhurried. It was raised as one of the great national projects of modern Egypt, a home worthy of the treasures it holds. Where many museums feel like fortresses, this one feels like a threshold, an invitation to drift gently into the depths of time. What makes this museum unusual is its ambition. Most museums tell a slice of the story, but this one sets out to show the whole sweep of Egyptian civilization from beginning to now. Its galleries move through prehistory and the age of the Pharaohs, through the Greek and Roman centuries, the Coptic Christian era, the long Islamic age, and into modern times. Under a single soaring roof, the visitor watches one civilization change its gods, its languages, and its rulers, yet remain unmistakably, continuously Egyptian. Beside the museum lies the lake of Ain al-Sira, a still sheet of water fed by springs, older than the city that surrounds it. For countless generations, this lake has been part of the life of the place, its shores woven into old stories and daily habit alike. Today, its calm surface mirrors the new museum, joining the very old and the very new in a single reflection. To sit at the water is to feel the deep patience of the land, the way Egypt has always gathered its life around water. The story the museum tells begins long before the Pharaohs, in the mists of prehistory. Thousands of years ago, early peoples settled along the great river, learning to farm its black flooded soil, to shape clay into pots, and to carve tools and small figures from bone and stone. Slowly, scattered villages grew into a kingdom, and out of that patient beginning the first great civilization of the Nile was born. These humble, ancient objects, simple and worn, are where the whole long tale quietly starts. Then came the age we know best, the long reign of the Pharaohs, when Egypt raised temples, tombs, and pyramids that still astonish the world. For thousands of years, god-kings ruled a land of scribes and priests, of hieroglyphs carved in stone and gods with the heads of falcons and jackals. The museum fills with their legacy, statues and carvings, jewelry and sacred objects, the sculpted faces of rulers who believed they would live forever. It is the grandeur most visitors come seeking, and here it stands in solemn abundance. At the heart of the museum lies its most solemn space, the Hall of Royal Mummies, where some of ancient Egypt's greatest rulers now rest. The hall is kept deliberately dim and hushed, each king and queen laid in careful, climate-controlled quiet, treated not as a spectacle but as a person once loved and mourned. Here lie sovereigns who guided the kingdom across its most glorious ages, brought at last to a place of dignity and calm. Visitors move softly, in the low light, or where they stand in the presence of the honored dead. The way these rulers arrived here became a moment the world will not forget. In the spring of 2021, they were carried across Cairo in a grand ceremony known as the Pharaohs' Golden Parade, each ruler borne on a decorated carriage along an illuminated route beside the Nile. It was a solemn, glittering procession, staged with music and light and deep respect, to move the ancient kings and queens to their new home. Rarely has a city honored its long-departed with such tenderness and pride. Egypt did not end with the pharaohs. In time, the land was drawn into the wider Mediterranean world, ruled first by Greek kings and later governed as a province of Rome. Great harbor cities rose along the coast, mingling Egyptian gods with foreign ones, and the old temples continued even as new tongues filled the streets. From these centuries come portraits and coins, carved stone and painted panels, the faces of a people who were at once thoroughly Egyptian and citizens of a much larger world. Then a new faith took root along the Nile. Over the early centuries of our era, Egypt became one of the great homelands of early Christianity, and a distinct Coptic culture flowered in its towns and desert monasteries. Monks copied scripture in quiet cells, weavers made cloth patterned with crosses and vines, and artists gave the old symbols new meaning. The museum holds the tender relics of that age, worn textiles and carved wood and simple sacred things, the everyday devotion of an ancient Christian people. With the coming of Islam, Egypt entered a long and brilliant new chapter, and Cairo grew into one of the great cities of the medieval world. Craftsmen filled it with beauty, glowing lamps of enameled glass, brass inlaid with silver, carved wood and fine ceramics, and manuscripts written in flowing script. The museum gathers these treasures of the Islamic centuries, the work of patient hands across many generations. They speak of a confident, cultured society that made even the humblest object a small work of art. Beyond the grand statues and famous names, the museum lingers lovingly on ordinary craft. Across every age, Egyptians shaped jewelry and pottery, tools and toys, garments and household things, and these quiet objects reveal how people actually lived. A comb, a bowl, a string of beads can bridge the centuries as surely as any throne. In gathering the crafts of all its eras side by side, the museum shows a single stream of skill and taste, flowing unbroken from the first villages to the modern city. This is the museum's deepest message, that Egypt is not a series of separate lost worlds but one continuous civilization. Pharaohs gave way to Greeks and Romans, who gave way to Christians and then to the Muslim city, yet through every change the land, the river, and the people endured. To move through the galleries in order is to feel that long thread pass through your hands. The past does not vanish here, it accumulates, each age resting upon the one before like the layers of the old city outside. Standing beside its ancient lake, the museum has become a landmark not only for Egypt but for the whole world. Visitors come from every continent to trace the arc of this astonishing civilization in a single afternoon, from a clay pot to a golden crown to a sleeping king. It is at once a place of scholarship and a place of wonder, guarding the memory of one of humanity's oldest stories. In telling Egypt's tale so fully, it tells a part of everyone's. A vast modern museum beside an ancient lake, 7,000 years of a single civilization gathered under one roof, and the honored kings of Egypt resting at last in quiet dignity. Thank you for watching. Follow for more interesting people, places, and things we cover on the channel.